I see it's.
And I think it's just setting up, and we are now live in Facebook as well. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Healing Beauty Symposium. This is day 2, and we're here with Alexandra Cousins. Hi, Alex.
Hello, Kelly. So good to be here.
So good to be here and be with you. And I know a lot of people are looking forward to hearing from you today. So today we are going to hear from Alex from Living Mucus Free, and she's going to be talking to us about the patriarchal matrix within the cellular matrix. Before we get started, I just want to open up the circle. So just very quickly, for those that don't know me, my name is Kelly, and I am an activator of the divine feminine through the sacred womb space. For me, this space is the space, it's the throne, the living embodiment of the divine feminine. And when this space is clear and you're able to fully embody the space, you're able to really call in this beautiful divine feminine spirit that is rising with everyone now and start to work with her. So I'm going to invite us all to close our eyes and just start to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth at your own rhythm. I'm just going to invite you now to call all of your energy that's perhaps not in your body. Maybe it's with the computer, the phone, your to-do list, things that you're working out in your life right now, relationships. But just really unplugging your energy from all those external sources and just calling your energy back into your body now, back home, so that you can be fully embodied and present. And just breathing your energy now, your awareness, down from your head, coming through your throat and your chest into your heart, filling up your heart with your energy, your spirit, and then coming down through the diaphragm, down past the navel, and into the hara, the sacred womb space that we all have, no matter what anatomy we have. We have this sacred power center within. So just settling into this center now, and just feeling yourself arriving into this circle that we are creating for healing beauty. And just connecting into your particular place, the grid of Mother Gaia, and just feeling this connection around the world as we all gather together. And just taking a few moments now to come back to the physical edges of your body, feeling the physical edges, starting to wiggle your fingers and your toes. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Beautiful.
Welcome. So Alex then is a cellular regeneration expert, and she's always had a passion for health and human optimization. Her teachings are really unique because they are an amalgamation of shamanism, mysticism, and a very deep understanding of the human body through Ayurvedic and cellular regeneration. So she's really a true pioneer in her field, and I'm really honored that she's going to talk to us today about this patriarchal matrix within the cellular matrix. Welcome, Alex, to Healing Beauty.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I'm so delighted to be here, and yeah, especially because I feel, you know, the last 2 years for me have been and continue to be a major deep dive into my own feminine and really allowing her to emerge. So this couldn't come at a better timing.
Beautiful. So would you start off by telling us a bit about your story, Alex?
Yeah, well, as so often, right, we come to our work through, I would say, immense pain. The pain drives us. And that certainly was true for me. From a very early age, I was a seer and a feeler, you know, as again, many of us. I think it's not something special. I think those of us that are born in this zeitgeist, we are plugged in, and it's for a good reason, because we're here to see what is not working and to change it. And so from a very young age, I just had this passion and drive to understand what is dis-ease. Because when I was little, it was the age where, you know, cancer was kind of everywhere. And it was like, oh, you know, have you heard so and so? Shame, she's got cancer. Or he, and I was like, what is this cancer? I could just feel that it wasn't this evil that came from the outside, but that it was something that was actually here to gift us. And as a child, I just innately knew this, and I would collect little, I forget now what they're called, but little elves with these flame hair. They have a particular name. And I would collect them. And whenever I heard somebody was sick, I would tell my mom, give them this doll. Tell them to tell them all their troubles, because this doll will take care of them. I know they can be healed. And of course, yeah, troll dolls. Thank you, Darren. And of course, my mom was a bit embarrassed and go like, yeah, okay, whatever, you know, I won't do that. And so that was really the beginning. And then of course came my health issues, which are all over my astrology chart, and they are my initiation. So eventually I realized, yeah, I had to go through them. And I came from initially a strong background and passion in science and biology, and I believed in medicine, and then found the pitfalls and found the limitations and went radically into natural healing, like really radical, and did many years of deep fasting and dry fasting. And, you know, it was really, really hardcore. And then in the last few years, really came back to meet medicine and science from a whole new level. And so, in fact, here is the first time that I'm going to be speaking to you, not as Alex from Living Mucus Free, but Alex from Enlightened Life. Which, you know, it was just a very recent rebranding where I realized, no, I'm no longer that. There's the integration has happened.
Oh, which I've read your first magazine, which was so jam-packed full of really juicy information. So yeah, I recommend anyone that can subscribe to that. Can they subscribe to it?
Absolutely, yes.
We'll put the links later.
Yeah.
Wow, beautiful. So then let's get into this juicy topic. Can you tell us what do you mean actually by the patriarchal matrix within the cellular matrix?
So as I healed myself and then started to help others to heal and regenerate from, you know, the mystery illnesses and all these conditions, I was like, I've been trying everything, but I'm not getting anywhere. And very quickly, I realized that, sure, there's physical issues that need to be addressed in a physical manner, but the root of the root was emotional. And not just from our emotions, but really also, you know, inevitably we learned from our mothers, our grandmothers. We carry their cells within our cells. And we know by now through the studies of epigenetics that emotions direct our hormonal output. And our biology really is directed by our emotions in so many ways, and not just the emotions that we overtly display, but the deeper emotions that often we even keep hidden to ourselves, because we create, especially in this era of self-development, spiritual development, we create a persona that we are able to love, right? So we create these avatars that and finally I'm able to love myself because I've created somebody who is not my true self. And so there's a deeper split that then is even created through the self-development and the spiritual development, because now that annoying, little girl and the frozen pieces within us that actually are part of who we truly are, we've shut them up. And what do? They scream louder. So really and of course, so much is driven by still the patriarchal matrix and this idea that, especially for the feminine, but I mean, the masculine has its own set of problems and health issues. And so even if we look at health issues and how the masculine has, or men have different health issues than women, you will hardly find men that are constipated. But women, we are taught to hold it in. So, and to keep it together. And then we think, oh, well, it's only a little constipation. Well, give that little constipation 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and you have, excuse my language, a shitstorm.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah. So I eventually saw, okay, it's not enough to regenerate our body on a physical level, because even the process of taking care of ourselves and creating a body that we can love can still be suppression. And I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen people, women in particular, die because of that. And that's where, and these were dear teachers of mine, and where through my process of learning and self-learning and applying, it's like, no, this is not this. We need to go one level deeper. We need to see that everything is connected. And so, and that's really, the way that I operate now. It's like, yes, I love medicine and I love natural healing and I love addressing the spiritual and the emotional. But if we don't bring it together, we're not doing the work. We're doing disservice to the various parts.
Yeah, I've really seen within the work that I do, what you just said about we have the cells of our ancestors in our body, if you think about when we're in utero, when we're in the womb, we are actually an egg inside our mother's womb whilst she is a fetus inside her mother's womb, because a baby is born with all of what a child, a woman is born with all of her eggs. So there is definitely this transference, and all the research where it goes back at least 7 generations. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I really see this, and also what you said about the patriarchal matrix. It's in men and women, because both men and women have suffered from patriarchy. And this is a really important point, because it's not about women saying, men, you've done us wrong. It's about this small piece at the top, this power center that have really twisted everything to serve themselves, and men and women have both suffered from that. So do you see kind of patterns of dis-ease in men and in women that are a result of that patriarchal matrix?
Absolutely. So for women, oftentimes is, again, it's the colon, constriction in the colon, which then has a knock-on effect on the whole body, because oftentimes then we can suffer from headaches, we can suffer from brain fog, of course digestive issues, but the root is in the digestive system because the head is connected to the colon. And then at the same time, the liver, so a lot of liver issues, these are kind of common to both men and women, which again, liver, we hold sure, known anger, but what is underneath anger is grief. So the liver connected to the lungs, and then again, the liver is connected to the colon digestive system. So a lot of these mystery illnesses that, we then blame, oh, well, it's EVB or it's, Lyme disease. No, we need to look deeper. What made the body weaken to the point where these viruses or parasites or whatever it is can actually create havoc? This was, we need to look 20 years back, 30 years back. And I've kind of become sort of, a specialist for helping people who have done everything. And then I tend to be, the last resort, even though I'm changing this now and going, no, we need to work earlier. So I tend to be the last resort, and it's because, and then we find the solution. I mean, sometimes to medical conditions where, quite frankly, when I started, finding solutions or helping people, it's not even that I find solutions. I see where we haven't looked at, and then I bring the pieces together. For men, a lot of times it's actually, kidney, prostate issues. And what is that? Fear. The kidneys hold fear, but also naturally when we hold fear, we're not going fully with our masculine living our life, right? So these are the emasculated men that we see so many of them today, the emasculated, displaced man, because it's not okay to be this way, but it's also not okay to be this way. And where does that get stored? It gets stored in the kidneys, and the kidneys hold all of that, because all of this fear of like, well, who am I here to be? I can't be this, I can't be that, and these poor kidneys, hence men lose their hair and suffer from prostate issues. So it's, and then of course, heart issues are also really common, because again, the men tend to carry a lot of armor around their heart. Yeah.
Wow, I've just got goosebumps like listening to you. That is such amazing information. I don't know how people are feeling hearing this, but it just feels, it makes so much sense. And it's, when you're speaking, it's kind of obvious, but we haven't discovered it yet. It's not in the general domain, let's say.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then of course, when we look at, yes, we need to address the physical, but if we don't resolve, where does that fear come from? Women often thyroid issues, which is of course our voice, our trusting our voice, trusting the voice of our heart, trusting our true expression. So there again, we then resort, okay, my true expression of the heart is not welcome. It's too much, it's too this, it's too that, it's too soft. So then let me put on another persona. Let me become the empowered goddess, or, whatever avatar. So we speak untruth, and then our thyroid becomes even weaker. And this is the beauty, like that's where I have come to really love. I love dis-ease, because that's the body going, I want to speak. I want to be heard. I want to express my truth. And it's the preciousness that each one of us has, right? There's a preciousness, a divine preciousness that is within each one of our hearts, that wants to express, that wants to be seen. And that power, that is our life force. That is the reason why we became incarnate. And so that reason for incarnation is going to say, I will be heard, even if I will become a cancer or an autoimmune condition. I will be heard, I will be seen, I will be loved.
This is honestly so brilliant. And it's actually adding on, if those who watched yesterday and I, Sophia, we were talking about this, how the body is well, we didn't say that, but you're bringing it on. But, you know, we all have this divine purpose, this expression. And if we don't do it, then we're going to express problems. And what you're saying is to get us back on our path.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So how do we start to fix this, Alex? What can we start to do to look at our symptoms, our disease, our uneasiness, and start to work with these symptoms?
Mm-hmm. So I tend to work really on a foundational level. And instead of chasing symptoms and fixing things, it's again, there's nothing to fix. There's only to be undone and regenerated. So of course, you know, when we have lived our non-self and we have lived from fear and from constriction and from suppression, there is huge knock-on effects on the body. Because the reality is, so even when, you know, people come to me and say, oh, well, I couldn't follow your protocol because I don't have discipline. No, it's not about discipline. It's when we undo the very reasons why you can't eat a certain way or why you always, you know, want certain foods that then sabotage you and create dis-ease. We tend to think, well, you know, it's just because I'm a glutton. It's because, you know, whatever, like we make up a reason. No, it's because you are out of alignment and you have gut dysbiosis and you have a whole bunch of things going on that need to be undone. And then when your bodily mechanics come back online, all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I feel so good. I don't have these cravings. I genuinely only desire what is good for me in the right amounts. And I mean, I come from a history of 35 years of eating disorder, and it was bad. You know, I always say I might as well have been a heroin addict. And how did I ultimately, after trying everything, how did I heal? I healed by going to the root. And so cleansing, purifying the body, first of all, going deep with cleaning out the colon. And the reality is, you know, of course, everybody will have heard of enemas and colonics, but those are not enough. We need to work. That's where we need to work intelligently with modern medicine that has created incredible enzymes, liquid enzymes that are able to completely clean us out, and which are kind of juice fasts on steroids. Another thing that I work with is peptide therapy, which is actually, it comes out of Russia. And it's what the Russian military use to keep their military people in good shape and, you know, athletes. And this is all scientifically backed. And the amazing thing is it's super, super safe. So I really combine the best of natural healing modalities with the best and safest of scientific methodologies and medicine, modern medicine, as well as anti-aging practices. And we bring those two together along with emotional work, so that, you know, and just like I'm obviously always having group of people that go through my processes. And the other day, for example, as this woman did a colon cleanse after the enzyme flush, she was like, oh my gosh, Alex, as I was releasing and feeling all these emotions, I had this wave of nausea that I could feel it was coming from my ancestor lineage, stuff that I needed to get rid of. And she says, you won't believe that my mother was in the next room. She was also vomiting.
Amazing. This is the quantum field. This is entanglement, right?
This is it. It's right there. And it's very simple.
Yes, I have found that actually with my daughter, if I'm not able to process something physically, she does. And then I that wakes me up and says, oh my God, my poor little 3-year-old is processing what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to go there. So yeah, that's amazing. So to touch more on this, when they're doing let's call it the physical detox, although it isn't. How does that bring up the emotions and what they see? So to just go a bit deeper on what you were explaining there.
So for example, the liver is really our main detoxification organ. And when the liver is not, because every function of the body pretty much goes through the liver. And if the liver is clogged up, and here, this is where we need to understand, because I used to go, yeah, but I've never drank alcohol, really. I mean, not majorly. And so my liver should be in tip-top shape. This is what we think. And I don't eat many fried foods, so my liver should be fine. It's like, no. But you've lived a life holding grief, which turns to anger. Unexpressed grief turns to anger. So where does that all get stored? In the liver. So as an example, when I did my liver flushes, I started to feel all this anger about my father. And it was like, okay, where's that coming from? My liver is storing my father's anger about his father, which he never expressed, right? Because, bless them, they didn't know how to. So now it got compounded. So I have a double whammy. And then actually, more, because as we know, we work 7 generations backward and 7 generations forward. So then I felt all this nausea, all the emotions. It was like a movie going, displaying. I could just feel the intensity, and I was breathing through it. And eventually I was like, okay, I can't hold this anymore. I needed to go to the bathroom, and I didn't know which way it was going to come out. And I just had this huge projectile vomit, and I could feel I could feel the lineage fly out of my mouth. And afterwards, there was this huge exhaustion. So it can come in many, many forms, but everything is held in the body. And literally every single person that I take through these processes, they always think, oh, they're not going to have anything emotional come up. And, they go literally like through shamanic experiences similar to an ayahuasca journey, where, it's like, oh my gosh, this is sitting here and this is sitting there. And we know, the body knows.
Yeah, this is amazing, because I don't know if you've read that book, The Molecule of Emotion by Candice. I'll have to find it. I'll put the link up. But she talks about this, how we have the receptors in the brain for those medicines, plant medicines, and actually so we can create that ourselves. And I know from some of my 100%. Clients, they've had like ayahuasca experiences without it. Thank you, Maria, for Candice Pert.
Yeah, 100%. So same thing when we go through the colon cleansing, sometimes literally people message me and go, Alex, do you think that maybe, I've done ayahuasca previously or whatever it is. Do you think that could be coming back up? It's like, no, that is just your own, your own medicine that's coming up. We all are medicine people, it's endogenous.
Yeah. Oh, we've got a question here, which we'll take. How do we know which emotions are held in which part of the body?
Typically, because I work systematically through the body. So we always start with the colon and then we move to the liver. And so we will feel when the colon starts releasing, like there, typically all of our contractions, our fears, our existential fears, because of course colon is the root chakra, so all of our existential fears and the fear of not being welcomed in this world. So
that's
really
why
just
the feminine,
primal stuff, it just comes up. And in a sense, that is almost, I always say, the physical part of healing actually is the easy part. We don't think it is, but it actually is the easy part. Especially nowadays, we have everything at our fingertips to pretty much heal from anything. We really do. But it's the emotional stuff that, that can take time. And we just need to be able to trust the body. And at the same time, people always say, oh, but I don't have any idea. You don't need to have an idea. Your body will tell you and show you.
Yeah. And this is the thing, because in our culture, we don't have those systems, those regular ways on how to process emotions. So we're absolutely terrified of it. It's like we think this emotional shadow is bigger than us, but actually it is part of us. And when we know it's part of us, then we can work with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, you know, the big piece of the way that I work, regenerational medicine, is about, we need to bring to the surface whatever has been suppressed. There is no other way. So, you know, and this can be sometimes a little bit frightening or uncomfortable, again, only because we don't know, you know, we haven't been taught. So old symptoms will come to the surface, physical symptoms, symptoms of a virus that we think we've gotten rid of, but actually it's just dormant, because actually there, you know, I mean, we don't want to go too deep into this, but viruses are proteins and they bring information. They attach themselves to the lymphatic system, and the lymphatic system is our emotional, it's the waters of the body. So viruses are here to upgrade. Viruses, bacteria, pathogens, right? It's stuff coming in, going, work with me. I want to help you get rid of whatever is no longer serving you. And we are therefore in a constant shamanic journey, really, with existence when we allow it.
I've got to ask you, because you said it. Do viruses come from different star systems and galaxies in order to bring information?
I feel, I don't know if they're coming from different star systems or galaxies, but they 100% come in to bring upgrades and to take us to the next level. Absolutely. In fact, I don't know, I'm sure you've experienced, you know, when children are sick, it happens to us as well, but children, it's more evident. They will have repeating dreams or sort of fantasies, you know, things that, what is that? And then typically after they have a fever or they don't feel well, you always think, oh my gosh, they've grown. Yes.
Yes. 1,000%. Yes.
Yes. So the fact that we don't allow our children to have the experience of being in dis-ease is a disservice, because it keeps them from growing on a soul level, from discovering their own power. Those are the first initiations for them to discover, wow, I'm powerful. So when my children, I mean, they very rarely had a fever, but when they did, I would sing to them. And I would sing to them in their ear and say, like, wow, your body's so powerful. It is burning up whatever is no longer serving you so that you can grow into your next version of strength. And I would just kind of sing this over and over and over. And typically they would have a nap and wake up and go like, Mom, I'm all well.
Amazing. I mean, what I'm feeling when you speak is this is about trusting the body and realizing its divine intelligence instead of with our small ego minds trying to control it.
100%, 100%. It is, it's complete. Like, we want shamanic experiences. Every single dis-ease is a shamanic portal.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. So if we start to really cleanse the body, cleanse our emotions, what kind of results or experiences can we expect?
Well, first of all, the body comes online in such a powerful way, because, you know, again, as long as we have all this obstruction, for example, just our colon alone can hold up to 25 pounds of waste. I mean, you know, just that. And sometimes I have tiny women where you think, okay, I don't know where that waste could possibly be hiding. There it is. And they start releasing, you know, ropes and ropes of mucoid plaque is what it's called, and old waste. And then they go, Alex, where was all of that? Well, it was in your intercellular tissue, but it was also just sitting there in the colon, constricting. and, not allowing you to absorb nutrition, which then inevitably means you're not absorbing or digesting life. So everything is connected. And what was the question again?
I was so into, I asked what kind of results can people expect when they start to cleanse?
Yes.
Yeah.
So on one hand, of course, it's just superior health, far superior health. Digestion gets sorted out like that. When we sort out the liver, everything flows. Life begins to flow. The liver can take some time. Same thing with the kidneys. As we alleviate the kidneys of constriction, both physical, because we have to, whenever we feel fear, whenever we play small, inevitably what happens, it's this. And the tissue does that, it hardens. So a lot of this inflammation, inflammatory diseases, it's the constriction, it's the fear, it's the trauma that we haven't addressed. It's the emotions that we have been suppressing that are then causing inflammation, that are causing us to crave foods to, bring us down. And then we think, oh, well, I'm just a glutton. Oh, well, I'm such an ice cream girl. No, because when we clean out, that's always the remarkable thing. People go, Alex, I don't know, who am I? I only want healthy food. Who am I? It's like, yeah, I know.
That's the body's innate intelligence asking for what it wants instead of these emotional blocks and constrictions.
Yes. Now, the other piece that happens, so on one hand, of course, greater health, yes, wonderful. But everything that you were previously suppressing, now the plasters all start coming off. So all of a sudden, also you realize, oftentimes people in relationship go, ooh, we need to shift things in our relating. And, we need to rearrange our way of doing this marriage or living as a family unit. And so, for example, for me, as I began fasting and cleansing, which, by the way, fasting is not, I do teach fasting in a safe way, but it's not strictly necessary, certainly not to fast the way that I did. I went extreme, and I wouldn't suggest that to everyone. Just sort of as a side note, to not get scared, you don't have to fast. But when I began fasting, whenever I would take my kids to private school that I was so proudly of, my stomach would begin to churn and to become really tight. And it was like, okay, my stomach is saying, I need to take my kids out of school. It took me a while to catch on because my mind didn't want to go there. And then, long story short, we unschooled our children. We took both of our kids out of school and radically unschooled and, went kind of the radical opposite way. But it's been amazing. So cleansing, deep regenerative cleansing and rebuilding of the body, the way that I see it, it connects us so powerfully with source consciousness. And we, because, I often think, I don't know, I live in no thingness. I live as a no body where it's just whatever's flowing through me. And sometimes okay, what are we doing now? And, it can be intense. It's an intense ride, but it's like, wow, I'm alive. I'm alive in this body. I am being lived through this body. And that's exciting.
Wow. What do you think what happens if we don't cleanse the body, if we don't start to work through what you've been discussing?
Well, obviously on a physical level, dis-ease, which can take a lot of time, that's where then, oh, well, it must be because I'm in my 40s. Oh, well, it must be because I'm approaching 60. No, that is complete nonsense. We are meant to live radically alive. In fact, we are meant to get better as we age. Why? Because we become more in tune with our body. And if then we do have certain spiritual practices and physical practices that, allow us to cultivate pranic energy, well, then we really can become way better as we age than we ever were before. I feel like now I have so much more energy and aliveness and connectivity to everything that is my body, my emotional states. It's like now I feel like I'm an alive, breathing being. And I recognize for many years I lived, as a semi-zombie because it was just all suppressed. So on a physical level, if we don't cleanse, that is where we begin to encounter all these aging symptoms, which are not aging symptoms. They are symptoms of cellular degeneration. Simple.
Very, over many years, like you said.
Over many years.
You say it's not aging, it's because, wow.
Yeah. And of course, the emotions compound. So, and that's where we see, some people, they can smoke and be jolly and eat all kinds of things, but they have a spirit, right? They're connected to their spirit. And so it doesn't matter. They can puff away and drink away. Nothing happens to them. They're as healthy as anything. And then you see others who, they're so meticulous and they do everything right. And, they've got something every 2 minutes. So, but that's because maybe their emotions and basically their soul is not fully alive. But here's what I've seen quite a lot. When we don't cleanse, and yet we do engage in deep spiritual practices or deep spiritual work, because the cleansing isn't happening, what I see a lot is distortions, spiritual distortions and illusions begin to kind of pave their way into a manifestation. And then when these people do cleanse, because I've had such clients, their whole set of work and reality begins to change, because all of a sudden it's like, oh, I was running from a distortion, from a distorted, and I mean, distortion. And there's no blame or anything. It's just like, well, that's how powerful these bodies are.
Yeah, I see. Because it's not in the body, it's almost they're creating these alter egos. Is that right? Would you explain a bit more about the distortions? I'm really curious.
Yeah. So on one hand, again, it's this: we create a personality that can deal with whatever's bubbling underneath. And when it's not cleansed, so when our liver is still congested and our colon is still congested, we need to realize there's also pathogens, and we all have them to a degree or another, pathogens, parasites that live within us. And what I typically hear is, oh, but I've never traveled to a third world country, so therefore I don't have parasites. Like, no, parasites are cultivated within, and they're there to help us, just as Candida is there to help us in order to rebalance our body, right? So pathogens, parasites are there to rebalance. But we only need to rebalance if we have waste, excess waste. But the problem with these pathogens, viruses, bacteria, parasites, they have a consciousness. So in fact, there is something that we call Candida consciousness. Candida consciousness, it's this very lackadaisical, often, head in the cloud, but can't quite manifest anything in life because we're just so out there, and we can think we're super connected to spirit world, but it's like, no, you're just riddled with Candida.
Goodness, I'm sure this is like making a lot of people think, and I don't know about everyone watching, but I know for me, I'm very interested to find out more, Alex. So how can people find out more from you? How can they connect with you?
Mm-hmm. So on one hand, the website for now, it's livingmucusfree.com, and there is an Enlight Life page. And the only reason really is Living Mucus Free is the sort of Puritan, naturalistic way that I came from. And now Enlight Life is, okay, now we've mixed all the pieces together, brought science together, the Enlight Life magazine. And of course, I'm Alexandra Cousins on Instagram. And we have just a newly launched membership portal where together with the magazine, basically, I feel like now I'm here to teach, all the pieces of cellular regeneration, emotional cleansing and cleanliness, and give all the tools, because I feel we can do the work ourselves just with a little bit of support. And so one-on-one coaching, I've kind of, I do very little of that nowadays, but I have my groups, and at some point going to go back to retreats, which we used to run worldwide.
Oh, thank you so much. So we'll put those links up, and I'd love to open it up for questions now. So if you have any questions for Alex, and we'll just check these, there's some notes here that people have been putting, but please put your questions in the comment box. And as that happens, I'm also going to check in the Facebook group as well, because I know that there are people watching on the Facebook group. So I'm going to have a look there as well. So please just write your comments, questions in the comment box, and I'm just trying to find the video on Facebook. Okay, so I'm just going to find any questions or comments. I am going to be clicking on here. Okay, so yeah, we've got a question on the Facebook group. Can these cleansers help with fertility and bring back the menstrual cycle?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, regularly when we cleanse, our menstrual cycle will switch sometimes from full moon to new moon. There will be a switch. And also we can see, because I work with powerful enzymes, we will see a lot of blood clotting leave the body. And of course, yeah, we've had women fall pregnant after cleansing, because they're also, so much of what's happening in the body is simply accumulated waste, which then becomes, it's almost scar tissue. So especially for women, it's scar tissue. And a lot of, we see more and more fertility issues, and it's toxicity, it's nothing else but toxicity. And of course, if we've been on the pill for so long, which a lot of women have, contraceptive pill has toxins, mercury even in it. So, there's a lot of cleansing that needs to happen.
Wow, that's really powerful. I know from my work, really awakening and clearing the womb space of this toxicity, emotional toxicity from previous partners and abusive relationships and ancestral line is so important.
Absolutely. One of my clients recently, when she did the colon cleanse, she said the whole day was only thinking about her relationship that was 23 years ago. And she's like, Alex, I haven't thought about this man in 23 years.
Yes.
But she realized how much stored trauma was still there. And so as she cleansed the colon, he was literally, the waste was released.
It's so true. Like I have women work with me and they're like, oh, I want to clear my recent ex-partner. He was abusive or whatever. But when we go into the womb, sometimes it's not him showing up. It's the first boyfriend, the first trauma, the first heartbreak. And they're like, oh, what's he doing here? And it's like, we've got to go to the root level. Okay, so I think we've got another question. What do you use to cleanse the colon?
So I work with powerful enzyme flushes, which are then followed by a colon flush with enzymes. So, it's kind of a 2-3 step process. And then we also work with peptides. And typically, depending on what you're suffering from, there's several steps. So because the colon, again, it can hold up to 25 pounds of waste, and it can take some time to clear that. But it's actually relatively quick. So the good news is that it takes way less time to regenerate the body. The body responds very quickly in relation to the amount of time that it takes to become toxic.
Yeah, well, that's really good, isn't it? You don't have to do 20, 30 years of cleansing. You can do it in a relatively short amount of time.
We just, for information's sake, we tend to calculate for every toxic year, which, for most of us really from childhood, it's about 1 month of cleansing.
Okay. I'm just trying to calculate. I'm probably about 40 then, 40 months. We have another question.
That was me.
Would love to know if you have worked with people that have had a back surgery that went wrong. The doctor hit a nerve in the back and now they have a limp foot. They can walk, though cannot lift the foot. There is muscle loss in the lower part under the knee. Is this repairable in your experience?
Well, with that, there's so much going on there, because even in a case of where we can say, yeah, but the doctor made a mistake, there's a karmic link, there's emotional links. And so, definitely would work with that. And regenerating, we can't promise that that can be completely healed, but can we regenerate the nervous system? Absolutely. And of course, with peptide therapy, so on one hand, it's cleansing is always at the basis. We need to cleanse in order to regenerate. And that to me is really the biggest mistake of modern medicine. Even anti-aging medicine, which, I've recently really gone deep with, but, and sure, we can create miracles with anti-aging medicine. But now what if we combine anti-aging medicine and proceed it with the cleansing and regeneration on a cellular level? It becomes so much more powerful what's possible. So, there is definitely a lot that can be done, but it needs to first, it's about cleansing, looking at the emotions, and then going and regenerating the nervous system with peptides and stem cell therapy.
Wow. What do you think about colonics? I think you did talk about those.
Colonics are fantastic. I love them. However, they're also, I used to be very pro the closed system, and which is, you need a practitioner.
Yeah.
And the problem with that, in my experience, is that if you are not feeling 100% safe with the practitioner, your body goes, sorry, I ain't releasing shit.
Yeah, that is so true. It's obvious, right? It's your it's your safety center that they're going into. And if you don't feel held, then
it's
of course.
So deep. It's so deep. It's so primal. So if you feel any kind of, and you don't even need to be aware of it, because I used to go to a therapist. I used to love her. She was fun. And eventually I realized, oh my gosh, my body is not feeling safe, and therefore the body's not releasing. So I now prefer an open system, and there's a specific one that I work with from a company in China, out of all places, which I think is probably where most of them come from anyway. But yeah, so, and at the same time, in my experience, because I used to be a colonic addict, nothing comes close to enzyme flushes. So as much as I love colonics, and we're planning to create a space where all of this can happen here in Bali, but I will only have an open system, and I'm still going to use enzyme flushes.
Oh, fantastic. Right, the last question. Would your protocol help someone with glaucoma and losing vision?
100%. Glaucoma is 100% related to the liver. It's liver. And also, of course, blood sugar issues, which is again related to the liver, because glaucoma, a lot of diabetes patients suffer from glaucoma. And so it's very much related to blood sugar issues, liver, adrenals. But now with peptides, it's amazing what can be done with peptides. So if we combine, again, cleansing plus peptides, a lot can be done. Then, of course, always the last piece is, what is it that they don't want to see?
Yes. Oh, thank you so much, Alex. I'm sure everyone watching the replay, please, if you are watching the replay, do comment, do question, and we'll funnel those questions out. There is one final question if we have time. Someone's just popped in with, how do you address the liver? Is multiple cleanses needed? We'll just quickly answer that before we close.
Yes, the liver is probably one of the more complex organs, and so it is about, you know, addressing it from all angles, with diet, with herbs, with enzymes, with enzymatic liver flushes, and then maintenance, and then definitely the emotional work and practices. You know, there's certain practices that we can do. The liver is big, but at the same time, you know, as all things that are big, when we work with the liver, your whole life can change. Your whole life.
Thank you so much. There's so much thanks and gratitude coming in. Thanks so much, Alex. I'm going to put the links in the group and in the email. If you have questions on the replay, please put them in. We will answer them. And tomorrow, if you join us at 8 p.m, that's Central European time, we're going to be speaking to Maya Luna about the refuge of embodiment. So continuing this body theme, I can't wait to hear that. And thank you, everyone, so much.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kelly, for putting this on. Amazing, beautiful, deep, important work.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.